Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the EdTech Lounge. I hope you're all doing well and keeping safe. I know a lot of you are a loyal audience to these sessions, but for those of you who are attending the session for the first time, I'll just let you know what EdTech Lounge is all about. So EdTech Lounge is a virtual space, a virtual community of practice for AKU faculty members so that they can learn from each other, uh, experiences, successes and challenges with online and remote teaching. We've been holding these sessions since last year. EdTech Lounge is a safe space where faculty can share about their oops and aha moments with online and remote teaching without being judged. We started these EdTech Lounges during the pandemic last year in April 2020. And we were running these sessions weekly. And now in 2021, we are having EdTech Lounge on every second Wednesday of the month. So these sessions are now held monthly. So like I said, we started last year and today we are celebrating 1 year of EdTech Lounge. So we've been brewing our own PD since the last year, and we would like to thank all of the participants and all of the session attendees and all of the presenters who have made this a success and who have been, sharing their experiences and who have been so vocal about how they felt about the whole online teaching experience uh, uh, last year. So we want to celebrate this. So each week we have a presenter. And so today we have two presenters to celebrate this 1 year. And our presenters are Anil, Khamis and Azra, Naseem. So I'm just going to let you know a very brief introduction about them. So Anil was our first presenter in the first EdTech Lounge that we held in April last year. So Anil is a research faculty at IGHD and Institute of Human Development. And along with Anil, we've got Azra Naseem, who is the Director of Network Quality Teaching and Learning and also a faculty member at IIT Pakistan and also the driving force behind the whole rapid transition during the pandemic. So I'm just going to stop right now and I'm going to hand over the microphone to Azra so she can take you through the session.
Okay, thank you very much, Abir, for this introduction. So in fact, I'm going to request my colleague Anil Khamis to welcome everybody and start the session. And Ramzan Mubarak to everyone.
Yes, Ramzan Mubarak, everybody. My name is Anil. Presently, I'm in Nairobi, Kenya, enjoying the sunshine, although we are, of course, all in lockdown. And as Abir mentioned, we have had the privilege of having these sessions for the best part of the last year, 36 in all. And, for us, in a way, it is ironic that we use the term 2020 as sort of hindsight, something, wow, now I know where I'm going. But I think the actual year 2020 has thrown us all off, and we actually don't know where we're going, many of us. So really, with that massive disruption that was the year 2020, which has really lived up to its name, we have actually learned a lot. And we have had experiences that we have managed to share in these EdTech lounges. We have had, everything from sharing clinical skills development online to assessment, and we have managed to work across the broad spectrum of curriculum, teaching, learning, mental health, cooperation, and certainly as we go forward, we wanted to share ideas that have come up over the last year, as well as with you, our participants, our partners, our colleagues across the globe, to really understand now that we don't know what has happened to us. Let's figure a way of how we have to move forward and what are those various ideas that we need to move forward. Azra?
Okay, so thank you, Anil. So colleagues, this is how we're going to run today's session. So we're going to spend about 10 minutes reflecting on 2020 and highlighting some questions that have emerged. We'll then spend about 12 minutes in breakout room to discuss some questions. We'll come back to the main group and we'll spend about 15 minutes discussing whatever you've discussed in your breakout groups, and which will then lead us towards the closing of the session, where we'll talk about the way forward. So this is how we have structured our session today. The first thing that I'd like everyone to do is go to the Mentimeter, the link, and I am going to share this link in the chat window as well. When you go to this link, you will be asked to share the first word or phrase that comes to your mind when you think of 2020. Remember, this session is all about, reflecting on what 2020 was all about for us. So what word or phrase that comes to your mind when you think of 2020? Great, thank you. We've started getting some responses. All right, let me share the screen and show you what sort of words and phrases everybody is using. Okay, so the first words or phrases that come to mind, yes, the pandemic, COVID, anxiety, wow, opportunity, but also confusing, unpredictable, is not over yet. Yes, this 2020 has just become really, really long. It's not over yet. Online world, new norms, struggles, resilience. Excellent. So essentially what we're seeing here is that 2020 was not any other year. As Anil has also mentioned, it was not any other year. It was something that has really shaken us at the individual level, at the level of institutions, at the level of our communities and society and globally. And as somebody has pointed out that with all the confusion and everything, it was also perhaps an opportunity. And let's see what sort of opportunities we have seen. So when we talk about the opportunities that exist, that 2020 has provided to us, we thought that let us show you a video. And this video actually captures the essence of what happened in 2020.
2020 has not been a kind year. It's been a year that preyed on the weak and the sick, a year that claimed lives and tested trust, a year filled with division and upended by chaos. It's been a year dominated by staggering loss of life across the world, but it's a world still filled with courage, compassion, and heart.
Pandemics occur. They have always occurred and they will occur. It would be really shameful if we don't learn from what we've been through.
Amidst tragedy, we learned that we know how to put others before ourselves. Despite resistance, despite pushback, we persisted. This is a world of resilience, a world propelled by the belief that overcoming the impossible is in fact possible. With the inspiration of innovation, we were once again reminded that nothing is out of reach and that we should shoot for the stars. Faced with the kind of viral enemy the world hasn't known for generations, we witnessed every day the true meaning of what it is to be a hero. Society reckoned with inequality, and people took to the streets and used their ballots to make their voices heard.
Let's stop thinking that our voice don't matter. That's right. And vote!
Heroes have walked among us and will again. Records were shattered and barriers were broken.
While I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last.
We imagine a tomorrow filled with unity, not division, a tomorrow that delivers equality, long overdue. A tomorrow galvanized to tackle the world's great challenges. 2020 upended norms and our understanding of normal. It was a year no one could predict. But we've endured hard years before. We've endured tragedy before. And we emerged from those years stronger, wiser, better. And so it will be with this year, too.
Okay, so this is essentially so this video in a sense gives us a, kind of like represents our experiences not only in Pakistan but globally, that this was a year that was devastating. It was something that really affected all of us, but then it also brought changes which we think could provide us opportunities to improve the way the life has been. And keeping that sort of ethos in mind of looking at this pandemic as an opportunity, what we did is we have looked at the EdTech Lounge as an opportunity that Al Khan University had created for AKU faculty members to come together, share their experiences of teaching and learning during the pandemic, share experiences, challenges, talk to each other, and learn with each other instead of reinventing the wheel, really learn with each other. So as Abir pointed out, last year we've offered 36 EdTech Lounge sessions, so our faculty members, and the image that you're seeing on the screen is really a word cloud of all the titles of EdTech Lounge sessions offered by our faculty members last year. And as you can see, some of the key words which are really highlighted, COVID-19 experiences, lessons, education, Sonam, medical, online teaching and learning, IED, strategies. You can see how, what a mix of presentations or the sessions were held last year, but the common themes were really about teaching and learning experiences online during COVID, during the pandemic. Interestingly, the total number of participants of all the EdTech Lounge sessions last year was more than 1,500. Some of the recurring themes when we look at the EdTech Lounge sessions, these were some of the recurring themes of all the talks. People, our faculty members and the participants talked about designing and planning online learning activities. They talked about how to enhance student engagement in online environments. There was a lot of discussion around assessment. What are the good tools? What, questions about proctoring and so on. There were questions about the curriculum, the subject matter, but there were also really big picture issues and questions around mental health, well-being. How can we make our education and technology more equitable?
Thank you, Azra. So as Azra has mentioned, we have a lot of questions that are arising from 2020. The rapid transition has really allowed us to think very critically that do we actually appreciate what we do when we're teaching and learning? I really quite like the word humbling somebody used in the Mentimeter earlier. We have all been humbled. We thought we knew how to teach. We knew what learning was, but 2020 has actually challenged us. Not just that we needed to move things online, and congratulations to QTL for allowing us this space in the EdTech Lounges, as well as all the other support that we have had. But really to say, well, what really is good teaching? And what have we therefore learned as implications for our own professional development, our work in our courses and our programs, the work that we do with our peers in our entities, and importantly, across entities. So what is it that is going to challenge us now to think about, well, what is AKU and our colleagues in the Aga Khan Development Network? Welcome to people from UCA and Aga Khan Education Services that we see in the chat. Thank you for joining us. But collectively, how do we see going forward over the next, say, 5 years, for example? It's not just about technologies, it's about learning outcomes. It's not just about our own course and discipline, but it's about our mandate as AKU more broadly. And actually, as we move towards now, I think the IEDs are, something in the order of 25, 30 years now. The medical college is well over 40 years. What is it that 2020 has taught us about integrating our work across entities, whether that is on climate change, whether that is on mental health? Somebody said we're all zoomed out in 2020. That's certainly true. But actually, the Chinese word for crisis is very fascinating. It's made up of two characters. One is danger, and the other one is opportunity, as Azra has spoken. So today, we actually want to work with you to get an understanding where we are, and then together, how do we progress forward? Azra?
Okay, so what we want to do is we want to get into our small groups so we're going to split everybody in this whole group into 4 groups. There will be 2 groups who will work on or will discuss the questions around curriculum, teaching and learning that came up quite frequently in the EdTech Lounge sessions all of 2020. And the other 2 groups will discuss the questions around collaborations. We'll put you in these 2 in 4 groups. Each group has about 6 or 7 people, so it will give you an opportunity to discuss. What we would like you to do is spend about 12 minutes, and at the end of the 12 minutes, when you come back to this main group, we would like each group to share what were the key discussion points within your group. Okay? So we will share these questions in the chat window so that you can also see what those questions are. Is the task clear? If there are any questions, you can ask us. Is the task clear? So you can see the questions are in the chat window. Okay, perfect. So we're going to put you in 2 groups, and I'm just going to open the breakout groups. Okay. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Thank you very much for participating in the discussion. Both Anil and I were able to go to your small groups, and we were able to hear a little bit of discussion. So now is the time for us to hear from all the groups, all the 4 groups. So can we request the first group, one of the groups that was working on the questions around curriculum, teaching and learning. So there was a group with Alia Begum, Al-Noor, Natani, Fauzia Nawaz, Bibi Mariam, Mary Grace, Rahima, and Sadia Bhutto. Would this group like to quickly share what were the key discussions? Just very quickly.
All right, if that's okay, I'll share a few points, what we had in the group. So, yes, thank you very much, Azra. So there were a few things which we have discussed. Mainly it was there, so when COVID hit and we have this situation in 2020, so it was a shock in the beginning, because from face-to-face to we suddenly moved to the online teaching. And there were some challenges with the skills, basically. Not all have the skills to cope with those challenges. Suddenly to go with the online teaching, that was one thing. And then there was a discussion in the group that some of the faculty was not very much well-versed with the online teaching, those modalities. So then we were teaching those millennials, they were more skillful. So there was an opportunity to basically learn from them. So gradually, we grasped those skills. That was another point which we had in discussion. Another thing what we discussed was that when online transition happened, so that in some of the institutes that the curriculum was put online. So curriculum was made available to all the people who can't work, come to face-to-face. And then that curriculum is accessible to many, like at large, above 1,000 people. So then it made it like accessible to everybody. That's one thing. And in terms of what we foresee is basically that online teaching will stay for some time. And there is a need to basically enhance the skills, to make efforts for that, so that we sharpen our skills gradually. And we also shared among ourselves that when it started, so for example, one example was shared that when Zoom was one of the like medium for communication was there, so some of us spend time on YouTube videos to learn how to operate Zoom and things like that. So this was another area which we have explored on our own and, you know, developed our skills on. So this was pretty much the thing from my side. Please add something if I've missed something, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I then request the other group members to just add their points in the chat windows while we move to the second group, and let's hear from the second group who worked on curriculum, teaching and learning. We had Debasi, Diana, Edward.
Diana will be doing it on our behalf.
All right, great, Diana. Go ahead.
Hi, Azra. Nice to see you. Our group spoke a little bit about what are the lessons that we've experienced, and there were comments around has there been any change to the curriculum, and the answer was no, and that this is a problem. Everyone's experienced many changes in teaching, not a lot of clarity around what might have been the experience for the learners, and there were some questions about how do you go about changing the curriculum in such an environment as we've been going through in 2020. There were comments about the need to be careful and for constant review, and that there needs to be attention to issues of implementation. That the curricula was designed for face-to-face, and with all the changes that we might be losing some sense of the outcomes, the learning outcomes, and that's the most important part, and that needs to be better understood than ever before. One comment was made around the need to worry a little bit less about risk and embrace change, given that that's what the experience is, and that's what the experience will be in these times of sort of rapid overhaul. And then we had a few final comments in our group around what we can expect over the next 5 years. And I think the consensus was that universities will need to invest a lot more in online learning. And I think I need to leave it there, Azra. That was the extent of my notes, but it was a really robust discussion. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Diana, for sharing your group's discussion points. So we will have a whole group discussion at the end. I hope that you have noted down the key points. I've also got these key points here. Let's move to the next group, which worked on collaboration. So there's a group, Hamid Khan, Jane, Kiran, Leonard, Marinissa, and Serene. Would one of you please share your key lessons in the group?
Okay, let me do it, but unfortunately we talked mostly about teaching, learning, and curriculum rather than we're shifting to collaboration. And the issues that we sort of touched upon, inclusivity. I mean, this online emergency response to teaching, emergency response to pandemic highlighted and brought out many issues related to inclusivity. Then we talked about teachers' creativity and resilience. And yes, teachers were creative in the sense that they took a curriculum which was designed for face-to-face to online. But when they were in the online or cyberspace, it was mostly replication. What they did in the classroom, they tried to replicate in the cyberspace. So it's something related to, indeed, to creativity. I mean, you change the mode, you change the medium, you change the platform, but then each platform, each mode has its own requirements. And I think a lot of issues could have been solved related to inclusivity through creativity and resilience. So these were some of the things that we discussed, and then what to do for future. And I mean, the building on what we learned during this emergency response, I think it's now time to launch ourselves in future and think of the era when our students and we will be working along intelligent machines, the machines which will have more or less the same cognitive abilities. I mean, I'm making a big claim, more or less cognitive abilities, but that's time is coming. Machine is getting intelligent, let's face it. So how to launch ourselves into that time, that era, and prepare for that, yeah, rather than being caught unaware and getting into another emergency response. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for this group. And although you didn't talk about collaboration, I think that you brought in a very interesting point about collaboration, not only just with humans but also with intelligent machines. Something that we'll have to start thinking about. The final group on collaboration, we've got Abir, Kareem, Nancy, Salima, Salima Didar Ali, Sheila, Tashmin, twice, Tasneem, and Uzma.
So Tasneem will be presenting. Tasneem Anwar.
Go ahead, Tasneem.
All right. So in our group, we discussed on collaborations and how these collaborations can be benefiting and what are some of the limitations. So first of all, if we look at the benefits, our group agreed on a lot of benefits that it offers. So primarily we talked about the quality of our work enhances due to this collaboration. It also improves creativity. We felt that variety of experiences are shared due to this collaboration, and it enhances the quality of output. We also felt that this approach becomes more student-centered, and it allows opportunities for open-ended responses, and then it increases collegiality. And it also it enhances the interaction also once the collaboration begins. But on the hindsight, when we looked at the limitations, we thought that just a second. We thought that we have to wait for others' opinions, and it might at times raises some personality clashes as well. And then depending on the subject matter, resources and motivations, there might be some issues due to that. And at times taking responsibility becomes an issue, and that leads to problems in collaboration. Finally, we thought that it makes planning activities more difficult for teachers, and teachers must be careful to design group work so that all participants are engaged in a best possible way. Coming to the second part of the question, so we looked at the potentials of these collaborations. So we thought that it's kind of like an elephant in the room, and it may be a problem. And then we also discussed that teachers also have to carefully align group activities to learning objectives and standards. So this may be a potential as well, and it can be seen as a limitation. Overall, we felt that collaborations have a lot of potentials in terms of catering to diverse learning opportunities and bringing disciplines together and increasing the research opportunities across disciplines. So we unanimously thought that it also depends on that how receptive we are to change and opportunities. So this might influence that how purposefully we benefit these collaborations.
Okay, thank you very much, Tasneem and the group for sharing your key discussion points. So, the four groups who have worked on these two big topics, the key things that the message that I'm hearing from all the four groups is really that there are lessons. The lessons that we have learned last year will only be beneficial for us long term if we actually make changes in our curriculum and in the way we function to enable more collaboration and more co-creation, not only amongst faculty members but also amongst faculty and students and faculty and staff members. And just as you've talked about, there are challenges, but and one of the groups talked about, we can't go on the way things have been done in the past. So this gives us opportunity to make significant changes as we move forward. Anil, would you like to add something here?
Yes, thank you, Azra. I mean, I couldn't agree more. It's so amazing. I was, going between the various groups, and I heard two or three things in the groups which we didn't get in the feedback. And I think I'd just like to catch up on that a little bit as well, Azra. And one was idea that this is really a time for compassion, that we have to show empathy, that really we have the opportunity to be more inclusive, not just of people that don't have, online modalities, but those who actually cannot access schooling or good quality education at the university. So the mandate of the university, I was hearing something there, that how do we reach more people with greater capabilities? I also heard a lot about, the sense of community. Somebody was saying that when you're in an online class, you can't see people's facial expressions. You can't see their body language. You can't make out whether they're happy or not. So we are missing that sense of community. And I think I'd like to make 2 points which have already been covered, but I'll just really like to critically put a keen point on that. The one is, who is at the center of the learning? And that was coming out very quickly, and that is the learner. So are we doing what we can best for the learner? We can't, sorry to use this phrase in Ramzan, but we can't put, old wine in new bottles. Actually, we're here for a transformation. The other was the idea that actually the change that has been coming for some time, I think Hamid mentioned it, is only going to accelerate. So how is it now that as we launch ourselves into the future, we actually take the capabilities that Tasneem mentioned, the design and thinking capabilities, so that we refashion our curricula based on collaborative potential so that we actually get the learning outcomes. And the last point I'll make is that, not sure I'm going to get slapped down for this, but there are 4 AKU graduate attributes, I think. I was trying to remember them all. One is leadership, one is ethical engagement, one is problem solving, one is to really have impact on innovation. And I think what I've heard from, the groups is that those AKU graduate attributes are still very relevant. So now is the opportunity to refashion our curricula with the various online capabilities and modalities that we have so that we actually move towards what it is that we all want to do. Let me stop there, Azra, and take any other feedback from colleagues, either in the chat or to speak.
So I don't see any questions or any comments in the chat, except that people are unable to hear because of distortion. But what we'd like to do now is move towards the end of the session. So I'm actually going to ask a question. I'm going to launch a poll, and I would like to ask a question. Can you see a poll on your screen? Yes, okay. So we'd love to hear your views. So the question is, after the pandemic, life for me, so choose anyone. Will life return to normal? There will be a new normal? Or you don't know, but you wish someone would tell you? Can we see some responses? I don't see any responses on the screen as yet.
So Azra, I can see the responses. We've got 4% saying we'll return to normal. We've got 23 or 85% saying there will be a new normal. And we've got 3 or 11% saying, I don't know, but I wish somebody would tell me. So yeah, the poll is done.
Got it. So all the responses are here, and let me share the screen. Can you see the results?
Okay, seen it now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. So after the pandemic, life will not return to the way it was before. It will be a new normal. For at least 85% of the people who are in this session, which means that our teaching and learning and our education at Khan University and in higher education cannot go back to the way things were. We are now more aware, and there will be a new normal, and we're the ones who have to create that new normal for our education as well. Anil, would you like to add anything here?
Absolutely, Azra. I think you've said it. We all concur that we're moving to a new normal. I've just got a message from my friend Leonard, who says, unfortunately, what is new keeps changing too. So change is the only constant. So I think it's very evident from today's session that we collaboratively will move to the new normal. And the new normal is coming, whether we like it or not. And this recalls for me the immortal words of Steve Jobs. He said, you actually know the future because you can actually create. And I think we now are very fortunate at Aga Khan University and in the larger AKDN family that we have survived the transition to COVID. Now is the time to really take the capabilities and move forward. So with that, Azra, thank you, and over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Anil. And yes, with this, we close today's EdTech Lounge. And thank you to all the participants. And I'm going to invite our Vice Provost, Professor Khamis, to say a few words to conclude 1 year of EdTech Lounge.
Thank you, Azra, and thank you, Anil. Anil actually, I think, led the first EdTech Lounge 40 EdTech Lounges ago. And what I thought was a crazy idea from Azra to do these weekly lounges in the middle of all the delivery BDL had to do through the pandemic has ended up being this community of practice of 1,500 of our faculty and faculty elsewhere, both across the AKDN with faculty and teachers, but also beyond the AKDN. So really it has been quite a year, and as somebody said, I think what is obvious is that change is the only constant. So I think that was a really good reflective session, and we need to acknowledge that teaching isn't just about the teacher, but I think, as Diana's group said, we've got to look at how that change also permeates our curriculum. And as somebody else talked about the mimicking online of face-to-face, that is of good practice and poor practice. So we need to ensure that we use best practice and we use a course design that is different for the online environment than it may be in a face-to-face setting. And you will have seen the resource that the BDL team have put together for essentials of online learning. Please use that resource and please give us feedback. It's an open source resource so that we can continue to improve it. And we look forward to you coming back, the 35 people on this call, to run other EdTech lounges, which are now, I believe, monthly, so we can continue to ensure we talk about teaching and learning through this new normal. Thank you all for coming today. Qadhafiz and Ramadan Kareem.
Thank you, and see you all next month.